Hello, Charlie Crimebuster here. We're going to share with you a quick update on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, what we're calling the Pirates of Hollywood. We're going to get you up to date on the case. We're going to share that in just a moment in what some people are calling, well, the fastest minutes in podcasting. Well, hello and welcome to today's podcast, where we're going to be sharing with you 5 quick things you need to know about the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case. This is for those of you who have not yet been following the case, or maybe you've been following it, and this is some things for you to know to make sure that you're finding the facts that are appearing before the court. One of the first things we want to say right off the bat, we find that during the past week's trial, we found that we probably had a real good indication on what happened with the poop gate. Now, the poop gate, of course, I call it poop gate. It was when Johnny Depp's people actually alleged that Amber Heard actually took it up on one of his beds during one of their arguing times that they had. Well, my friend, I want you to know that somebody during the case actually brought up something that's quite interesting. He was saying that he was asking her about what had happened, one of the bodyguards there, and she said, have you ever had a practical joke really go wrong? It was just a practical joke that went wrong, that went bad. Well, if she said that, then that pretty well says that she did it. However, she still claims, the defense is claiming for her that wasn't what happened, that actually what happened was that it was the dogs. Well, you decide in that situation. The second thing that was very interesting, there was another thing brought up about the finger danger. I call it finger danger, where part of his finger was lopped off. Not his whole finger, but some of the skin on one of the fingers was lopped off. Well, he claims that he was sitting there and they were arguing and she threw a liquor bottle at him. And when she threw that liquor bottle against his finger at the bar, that's what caused it. On the other hand, there's some other credibility for Amber. She says that didn't happen that way at all, that he did it himself. And when he was going to the emergency room, well, he told the doctors that he shut it up in an accordion door. Some of his handlers said that, Johnny accidentally cut his finger. And then there was one time when Johnny was talking, and this was on recording that was played in court, and he was talking to Amber, and he said these words. He said, "You remember that time when I lopped off or chopped off my finger?" And he was referring to himself doing it. Now, why would he refer to himself doing it, talking to Amber, if she had been the one that was doing it? Well, again, that one's going to come down to he said, she said. Again, you decide. Probably one of the most damaging, and this is number 3 of the 5 things you need to know, probably one of the most damaging things that happened was that a psychologist came and actually testified that that Amber had some problems, some mental problems, that she was borderline personality. She had a historian discord. All of those things mean simply this, that she would have a tendency to lie, that she would have a fear of abandonment, and that she would do absolutely anything to keep from being abandoned, including making false allegations. Well, that's what that psychologist said, but wait a minute, it's not all over, because now we know that we're coming to the time of the trial this week when Amber's people are going to put on their defense. And sources tell us that she has 3 psychiatrists and psychologists that might testify. One of those psychiatrists had been seeing her for over 2 years. Now, Johnny Depp's psychologists who testified, they had only seen her for 12 hours, and they came up with that diagnosis. But the other side is a different diagnosis all whatsoever. We're going to hear from Amber's team, and we're going to hear from those psychologists, and they're going to say that she definitely has the signs of being an abused person. They're also going to say that she may even be suffered, from post-traumatic stress syndrome. Well, my friend, it's going to get interesting. It's going to get interesting. By the way, the psychologist that testified for Johnny Depp, who's supposed to give an independent account, without bias, interesting enough, on cross-examination, it was revealed something highly unusual for a psychologist who's rendering some sort of decision in a trial. Well, she had had drinks and dinner at Johnny Depp's house. Also, she certainly had a financial pressure on this particular rendering of this particular diagnosis. I'll say pressure. We know that she made some money from what she said. Well, again, that's for you to find out for yourself. The fourth thing that was interesting that came out is what I call the phone fling. The phone fling. You see, on direct testimony, a witness there said that actually what had taken place is that she had taken Johnny's phone, his cell phone, during one of their one of their deals where they were going back and forth and having a disagreement and arguments and got quite volatile. Said that she took his phone and threw it off of the balcony there into the weeds or to the street. But on cross-examination, we found out that that wasn't the whole story. It seems that Johnny himself, had taken her phone prior to that and thrown it off the balcony. Well, there's a lot of he said, she said, as you can see here with it. And then, of course, the fifth thing that we should see is that on Monday of this week, we had heard from witnesses, those who are in the business, that definitely did, in my opinion, they did, I believe, prove that he did have damages. In other words, that there was a lot of business he lost after that op-ed that Amber wrote appeared in the Washington Post. No doubt in my mind, and I don't think any doubt in anybody's mind, including the jury, that he did sustain damage to his reputation as a result of that article. But you see, that's not all you have to prove in order for Johnny to win his case. Has to prove not only was there that impact, that actionable impact according to Virginia law, but they got to prove that what she said was false. Will they be able to prove it? Now, the trial that was held in the UK when Johnny Depp tried the same similar thing and he sued the Sun over there, a newspaper, for saying that he was a wife beater, well, that trial, it ended up going against Johnny. In fact, it was a judge that decided that one, and he said, you know what? I believe this young lady. He said that she proved that 12 out of the 14 accusations, that more than likely it happened. In fact, it more likely happened than not. That's what the judge ruled, and he ruled against Johnny Depp. What will this jury say, though? What will this jury say when all of this evidence has been stacking up and he said, she said? Well, right now it appears that Amber is the aggressor in this relationship. Will that sway the jury? Will they then disregard any other situation where it appears that Johnny abused her? Well, we have yet to find that out. And don't forget, now it's time for Amber's team to come to bat. By tomorrow, more than likely, they'll start their part of the case. And this is when Amber calls her witnesses. Now, at first it was thought that she would be right up to bat. She would go there and testify the very first witness. But now sources tell us that she will be the second witness. That psychologist that's going to refute the other one, well, they should show up, and they should definitely refute the psychologist that Johnny had. Well, as you can see, it's all coming about to be a mud fight, slinging mud from one side to the other. All of that and more says this is one exciting case. Well, this has been 5 things you need to know. 5 things you need to know to get you updated on what's happening with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, what we call the Pirates of Hollywood. And Charlie Crimebuster will always try to keep you up to date on what's happening out there. So until this time next time, this is Charlie Crimebuster reminding you, be safe, be alert. For the life you save, well, my friend, it may be your very own.